Hey guys, welcome to the last MapleStory class review. Pirates, 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 pirates. You know, sometimes I wonder if Nexon created pirates to be the class type that they just throw random stuff in there. Like, seriously, if any class Nexon makes doesn't belong in warrior, mage, thief, or archer, then they just throw it in pirate. Like, we have just the most random stuff I've ever seen being put into pirate. By the way, for those of you wondering why Blaster became a warrior and not a pirate, even though her portrait outfit and attack theme looks piratey and her weapon is an arm, cannon, gauntlet thingy, the only reason is because Mechanic is already the pirate for the Resistance faction, so there's no reason to have two pirates, you know what I mean? That little bit of trivia aside, let's talk pirates. So they come in all shapes and sizes, but to draw a middle ground conclusion, pirates are mostly bruisers. They have a good balance between offense and defense. Pirates are also known to be very middle ground when it comes to damage and mobbing, so like on the spectrum, warriors are amazing boss killers while mages are good mobbers. And then we have pirates who can do a good bit of both. As a class type, they're also the least popular to play, but I think that's mostly because other than the Explorer pirates, almost every other pirate has a very weird or unorthodox playstyle that most people just really can't get a grip around. I'm thinking about making a Corsair for my 5th main though, I don't know. Speaking of Corsair, they come first, and I want to establish this. I really freaking missed that pirate ship. Like, it was such an iconic aspect of their kit, and Nexon just took it away. Why? That was such a nice ship. The kit was awesome. The abilities on the ship were cool. Alright, you know what? That was like 7 years ago, let's just get back on topic. Just like how Dark Knight, Shadower, Bowmaster, and Ice Lightning mages are the middle ground for their class type, Corsair is about as good as you can get for a traditional average pirate. Solid marks across the board in every department, high base damage, good mobbing abilities in 8 legs Easton, broadside and their fit job skills which power up both their damage and wave clear. They come with a good degree of mobility as a result too, with wings and recoil shot along with their standard flash jumps, so you got your bases covered in that regard. Surprisingly though, Corsairs are quite beefy. I know I said that pirates are certainly a lot bulkier than thieves and archers, but for a gunslinger I didn't really expect that. Multiple skills in the kit that give them some strong tanking capabilities like Outlaw's Code and Whaler's Potion. Corsair's main shining trait though, I would say, is their wide map coverage. I mentioned how Xenons have some of the best mobbing in the game, not because of their attack range, but because they can summon a whole bunch of stuff around the map to kill mobs. Corsair has that too, with their like pirate crew and octopus guys. Nothing really too bad to say about Corsair. They're a fun class to play with a lot of good tools working for them. Buccaneer takes a more offensive approach though, having great damage scaling and equally good attack speed. Their main gimmick functions similar to Aaron's in that they spend time charging up energy, and when reaching a certain point they get a huge buff to get a ton of extra damage. Buccaneers may not have as much area coverage as Corsairs, but their damage is worlds higher, having more critical damage scaling and better armor penetration, combined with the fact that Buccaneers' attack speed is just a lot stronger than Corsairs, at least outside of burst. I'm pretty sure Corsairs have better burst damage, but in the long extended battles, there are very few pirates that can match Buccaneers' uptime. They also come with two coveted party skills, Time Leap and Speed Infusion, both godsends in parties, especially if you have party members that really could use the extra boost in attack speed, so they have a surprising amount of utility. Other than that though, a very straightforward class. Buccaneers have definitely gotten a lot stronger over the years. They actually used to be one of the worst classes in the game many years back, but now they've been able to hold consistently as a very well respected like A tier class. I think the only problem with Buccaneers is that they're kind of boring and underwhelming until 4th job, so not the most appealing until level 100, and the other one being their significantly worse mobbing even if they're using their best skills like Serpent Screw and others. However, I would not say that these detriments are anywhere near enough to hinder their strengths. Next pirate to come after is Thunderbreaker, an extremely underrated class. A lot of people give it very little credit for how strong Thunderbreakers really are, and they got even stronger when Fitjob came out, blowing them past Buccaneer. They were never really a bad class, just underrepresented. Thunderbreakers have a lot of similar properties to Buccaneer. High single target damage output, impressive bulk, and a damage stacking mechanic that gives them increased power and access to the stronger abilities. Thunderbreakers are also attack chainers just like Cadena and Mercedes, in that you want to make use of multiple skills back to back to get the most damage output, since they have a similar playstyle to Mercedes' Link skills and Cadena's muscle memory chaining. I would say that Thunderbreakers excel past Buccaneers in terms of attack speed and superb mobility, along with having just a higher line output, so if you can master their combos and maximize uptime, you're looking at like the second strongest pirate in the game. And like all Cygnus Knights, they have a gorgeous aesthetic to their kit of having a water lightning thematic. With that said, like other combo classes, if you don't know how to play Thunderbreaker properly, you can be very well one of the weakest pirates in the game. They also unironically drink MP like water with how many attacks you're spamming, and Thunderbreakers do lack significant critical hit rate and armor penetration, as well as having much lower damage percent scaling than the other pirates, so they're a lot better for funded players or people who have a significant amount of resources, not so much for unfunded players. But if you can get past those, you've picked a perfect pirate class to main. Mechanic comes next, and oh my goodness, they are just such wasted potential. I actually loved Mechanic a ton back when I played during the Chaos update because of just how awesome and fun their playstyle was. Like, you were riding a tank that shoots lasers, has a giant hammer, and all these cool little knickknacks and machines that you can place down to give some extra utility. They were great, but holy crap did mechanics become irrelevant quickly. Of the 3 resistance class reworks, mechanics got the worst one, I would say, losing much of their single target DPS in favor of better wave clear. Now make no mistake, mechanics has some of the best area coverage and horizontal wave clear I've ever seen, but low damage output, boss damage, critical hit rate, and weak base damage ratios. One good thing going for them though is that they have probably the most amount of base defense, HP, and damage reduction, and their armor penetration is actually quite good. They also have a lot of good mobility with the likes of their drill rush, their dash skill, portal robots, and other skills like that. I will say though that FitJob did a lot of work with improving mechanics' lackluster DPS and wave clear, so they aren't trash tier. There are a good number of classes weaker than mechanic in damage output, but it's just not enough to make this a good class. A very clunky playstyle since you have to place all those robots around, too many hoops to jump through for just not enough gain. A cool looking class though, I do want to say, props to Chuck for making it work. That guy is an inspiration to all off-meta class players. Let's go back to Explorers for a bit though and talk about Cannoneer. They're the middle ground between Buccaneers and Corsairs, having great area control like Corsairs, but also the explosive power of Buccaneers. Incredible damage in their kit at the expense of being the slowest pirate in the game. Make no mistake, slow does not mean weak. Cannoneers come with equal parts single target and mobbing capability with a ton of base stat in their kit. Good crit rate, crit damage, insane armor penetration, like even better than mechanics, ridiculously good mobility, bulky as hell, one of the best hyper skills in the game buckshot, and immaculate, absolutely immaculate fit job skills. I dare say Cannoneer is in the top 5 classes that got the best fit job skills. Of the 3 Explorer Pirates, Cannoneers gain the most benefit from attack speed because of how slow their weapon is. Corsair's gun is fast and Knuckles are fast too, but cannons are slow, which means they can get more benefit out of attack speed +1 in their ability or things like that. They have the best burst damage of all the pirates, not necessarily the best overall damage because classes like Thunderbreaker, Buccaneer, and Angelic Buster just totally outmatch Cannoneer. But if we're going on the sheer number of lines a Cannoneer can pump out in like 30 seconds, we're staring at someone who can do almost as much, if not more lines than a freaking Mercedes. And while this doesn't necessarily contribute to their damage, Cannoneers come with twice the inventory slots of any other class. I have no idea why this was a thing, but it is for them. They were pretty good as mules for merchers back in the day just because they get a lot of free slots. The problem with Cannoneer though is their lack of defensive properties. They may have really high HP and base defense, but they lack instant repositioning outside of blastback, and they have no invincibility frames. So they're able to survive a lot longer on the field, but against bosses, he's as squishy as an archer. Plus, like I said, they're the slowest pirate in the game, so if you don't have attack speed boost, Cannoneer they can feel pretty clunky, but they're still really fun to play. Jets. Can I skip this class, please? Like, please, unlike Beast Tamer, there's very little redeeming qualities of being a jet. The only person I know, or well, he's in Barra now, I think, but the only person I used to know, this guy named No Prospect, actually he's on the video right now. He's the only person I know that plays Jet and actually likes the class. I don't know how you can play this class. They come with the most base stat bonuses of any class in the game, I think. Like if we combine all of their stat bonus, damage, critical hit rate, boss damage, armor penetration, defense, HP, critical damage, etc, 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 they get probably the most. But the problem is, Jet is just such an underwhelming class by every stretch of the imagination. So many random dead abilities, no proper cohesion in their kit. There's almost nothing about Jets that make them better than a Corsair, Buccaneer, or Cannon Master. Worse range, worse damage output. I'm sorry, I know I'm like hating on them, but just compared to Jets, mechanics look like gods. Yes, I'm aware they gave Jets a few buffs, but just let me skip this class. I hate this class, I'm sorry. Now onto a class I very much like on the other hand, Angelic Busters. ABs are the creme de la creme of pirates when it comes to sheer force, having a 3-way tie with Cadena and Blaster as the #1 damage dealing class in the game. Angelic Buster has ridiculously high damage ratios, more than the other pirates. She puts them to shame. Some of her skills can do well over 1500% damage a hit. She's a shining example of a class that has only one job, but does that job so well. I've always made praises of her in the strongest class of each type, and while Angelic Busters have defensive capabilities as weak as archers, she just does so much damage that her shortcomings are almost negligible. Extremely strong early, mid, and late game, so she's good for both unfunded and funded players alike. High base attack, damage scaling, crit rate, boss damage, armor penetration, absurd critical damage. Like she has critical damage as strong as archers, and I already talked to you guys about having triple-digit crit damage. Her fit job skills are also amazing, boosting her already strong damage and increasing her mobbing even further. I have not much else to say about her other than don't jump to conclusions about Angelic Buster. She's not an e-girl, magical girl class. She kicks ass. Twice. Strongest pirate in the game by leaps and freaking bounds. I think the main reason why not many players like Angelic Buster is her rather weird playstyle, and most importantly her theme. Too much pink, pretty, and posh for some people, I would say, and I wasn't too big a fan of Powerpuff Girls when I was a kid. You know, I want to make a joke about Shade by pretending he doesn't exist, but I don't think that's in good taste for the sake of this review video. Shade is a rather interesting class. He's a very colorful one with a theme of using spirits to attack, and I feel like true to his lore though, he's not very well noticed in the community. Shade may not be the strongest when it comes to damage output, but his utility is extremely unique with the longest bind in the entire game, a splitting debuff that allows you and other party members to attack the same target twice essentially, another attack which makes all subsequent attacks to mark target's lifesteal and always critically strike. Apart from that, Shade is super tanky, he has a lot of defensive stats and even a death immunity passive, plus most of his attacks come with modest damage scaling, so he's not bad in either department. His struggle comes from his lack of proper ability cohesion. Like very few of his attacks actually work together, kind of the same weakness that Jet has. You're pretty much only spamming Bomb Punch and Spirit Claw, so while other pirate classes are good with stringing their attacks together, Shade's kit is just a mix and match of random attacks, so they come with a lot of dead skills. The range is also not too spectacular as they're too reliant on their fit chop attacks and hyper skills to do any reasonably good mobbing, and outside of that, Bomb Punch is just too short range and Spirit Claw only hits 3 enemies. So putting it together, he's a very random class. He's supposed to be a tank utility bruiser class, but he doesn't really excel in any of them. Kind of a jack of all trades version of Buccaneer, I guess. But he comes with a very fervent fanbase, which I find admirable, but kind of creepy at the same time. Last class Arc, one of the best pirates to come out in the game. High base attack, the stupidly overpowered property of converting part of his magic attack to physical attack, so prime scrolling on this class is a must. He's got amazing mobility, innate sustain, crazy area coverage, good DPS, extremely fun to play, and just an overall great combo-based pirate. His main gimmick is similar to Buccaneers in that they have a regular mode and a Super Saiyan mode, except Arc's Spectre form is where almost all of his total damage comes from. He's got a ton of super colorful abilities whose properties change when in Flora mode or Spectre mode, and each of them come with their own unique benefits, which means Arc is one of the hardest classes to fully master because you need to know when's a good time to use each ability. Abilities aside though, his stats are crazy. I already mentioned his attack scaling basically matches the likes of Dual Blades Dagger and Katara, only his weapon multiplier is better since he uses a knuckle. So that magic attack conversion plus his base attack means Arc is very strong for late game players. He does provide a lot of utility for his party too, since his drive attacks, Scarlet Charge Drive, Gust Charge Drive, Abyss Charge Drive, and Basic Charge Drive all grant bonuses to his entire party. Attack speed, power, stance, attack power, crit rate, evasion, they're all really valuable. There's almost no weakness with Arc. His only issue stems from being hard to play, but that's not really too big a problem since mechanics are based on the player, not the class. So it's not really a weakness unless you're considered a blaster. A solid like S tier class in both mobbing, DPS, solo, or party. Whew, okay, we're done. Holy crap, I did 4 class reviews in a single week. I need a break. Now, having finished a class review on every type, I want to let you guys know that in case you're taking these reviews literally, I'm not a master at every class. I hardly know all of them. I'm only judging them based on my experiences playing the class and just by reading up on them and using fundamental knowledge of the game. I haven't checked out many of their fit job skills, I'm just going by what I see. There were a few people who were gracious enough to correct me on any things I said wrong or left out about the class, and I do thank you for that. But know that this video series isn't like the top 5s or things like that, since I'm mostly only commenting on the class's playstyle, what they do well, and what they don't. I didn't even factor things like time investment or equipment. With that being said, I would like to still make one more video regarding the class review series, so stay tuned for that. Hope you guys all enjoyed watching and found it entertaining. These videos were some of the most well received I've ever had, apart from my big guys like the training guide ones, which makes me pretty happy. Thanks once again to my Patreon supporters, I'd like to give a shout out to them. Don't forget, a rating would be much appreciated, and stay tuned for the last video of this series, and I'll see you guys again soon in the next video. Take care.